Hi there, and welcome to Ask an Aspie Couple. We're your hosts, Mike
and Jen,
and we're here to answer any and all questions you may have. Just to give a little bit of an overview about who we are, I'm 24 actually, and my special interest is DeLoreans. Anything about DeLoreans, Back to the Future, the whole 9 yards, I just fell in love with it, and that's my special interest. We met on the wrong planet forums actually, and so we've got engaged, and now we're almost to the point where we're married. So, yay! And so, you want to give a story back about yourself, sweetie?
I am 27 years old, and my interests and hobbies include cats, and I used to live in a room in my old house in Osted Falls that is decorated with cats. And I have a cat named CK, which is short for Cyber Kitty, and she's black with a white spot on her chest. And I have a lot of cat books. Also, I am a great artist, and I do a lot of stuff for Mike and for art class as well. And I have a lot of stuff that went in art shows.
And speaking of cats, here's a guest appearance from Chubbs. Yeah, she's a very, very good artist, let me tell you. It's back in my high school days, I used to do a little bit of drawing, but nothing near her caliber. I lost that talent since then now, but still try once in a while. Alright, so now, the category for this first video is more or less Aspie type tics, I guess is what to put it. So, things that are specific to Asperger Syndrome, the autism spectrum, that kind of thing. So, we got a user on the forums that asked us a bunch of questions, and thank you very much for that. And so, before we get started, we'd like to define a couple terms. The first one is stim. That one is basically like a nervous tic almost. Like crack your knuckles, for example, or, you know, like twisting your pen in your fingers, or rocking back and forth, you know, stuff like that. It's just a nervous, involuntary tic almost. Sensory overload is another one. When you have autism in any part of the spectrum, certain sensory systems just are like amplified, is the way to put it. It pretty much, if you think of how sensitive your hearing may be to like a sonic boom, for example, imagine that like 100 times worse for someone on the autism spectrum. It really is that bad. And taste, for example, something might taste, ooh, that tastes bad kind of deal. It would taste horrific to that person. Or touch may just drive them literally insane. So their sensory systems and nervous systems are very hyperactive. So, now it's Q&A time. The first question we have on our list, are you ever annoyed by the other's stimming or habits? I don't think I've been annoyed by her stims, but I have noticed that, you know, for example, if she rocks back and forth, which she does sometimes, I will sometimes put an arm around her and see if I could comfort her, and, you know, because sometimes I wonder if maybe she's just looking for that kind of affection in that time frame, so I just do that, but it seems to work. But I'm never really annoyed by any of her stimming habits, so I can't think of anything really that would, I can't think of anything that I'd be annoyed by with her. It's a pretty good dynamic actually. So
yeah, I don't think I've been annoyed by your habits either, to be honest. Not that I know of.
Okay. Next question, do you share stims? Are they in a way contagious to each other?
Well, there's like a couple that we share. One of them is cracking knuckles and other certain body parts, like the neck, for instance. And another one that we kind of do share a little, but not as much, is scab picking, or picking around the fingers, if you may. I picked that up for myself when I was a little girl. And I think he did that when you were younger as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like we share them, but it's not like we develop them from the other person having it. So I've cracked my knuckles for a very long time, my neck and various other parts of my body, and picked at scabs and pinholes and all that stuff for a very long time. I don't think we like picked it up from the other person, but we did have them, and they're in common. So that may be a better way to phrase that. Next question. How long have you been able to make eye contact with each other? That's actually a very good question. It's the weirdest thing. With like anybody else, I've been able to make eye contact for like probably decades on if you put me through that, without issues at all. With Jen, for some reason, I struggled with it. I can't explain why. I don't know what it was that I struggled with, but for some reason, I just couldn't do it for a long period of time. So as our relationship kept going forward, I just kept training myself to look her in the eyes longer and longer and longer, and kept pushing myself to do it more, and kind of get into that routine almost of just forcing eye contact. And even as uncomfortable as it was, I still did it. And now it seems like we're a lot better at eye contact than we were, especially even a year ago today, or even 3-4 months ago. It seems like we're a lot better. So.
Yeah, when we first met, when we were on our first day, I could barely look at him in the eye because I was so nervous. But as time went on, I got more and more confident, and I started to look at him in the eyes even more.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing actually. It was one of those deals on our first date. I remember that quite well actually, where I could barely look at her, and there's something about it I couldn't figure out why. But anyways, next question. How do you divide the chores? Paying the bills, budgeting, cooking, etc. So, pretty much with me, I try to, clean, like vacuum around the house. I will do like repair work, or I'll, so I do like those kind of chores. I'll pick up garbage. She mostly cleans the dishes and picks up on the house as well, takes care of the cats and the animals and all that. So, but that being said, I do pay for the majority of our bills, because right now she's in between jobs and I'm employed, so I do take care of the financial aspect of it, but she takes care of most of the chore aspect of it. So there's a little bit of give and take, but it's centered more on her for chores and me for budgeting, I believe. So, and cooking, actually, sorry about that, someone's calling. Cooking, we usually do like microwave type meals, and so the microwave type meals, the cooking part, we usually do like microwave type meals.
Yes.
And so I'll cook pancakes in the microwave, which I can do myself, and she can do herself. Sometimes we'll cook spaghetti though.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll do like mac and cheese. Sometimes we'll do various things, and she's done a very good job with learning how to cook that kind of stuff and doing that. And I try the same thing. I try to cook it as well. It's really more or less, I think, who does it, rather than, or who's in the mood to do it, who's in the mood to eat it, rather than, okay, we'll just, one person always cooks, the other person always eats, So what do you think, sweetie?
Yeah, I have to agree with everything that you said.
Okay. Next question. Do you find that you mirror each other's moods? Like if one gets irritable, the other gets that way too?
Yes. Like, whenever I feel down about something, you would too, because there's like this line of empathy that's there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed the exact same thing actually. It's one of those things where it's not a full-on mirror effect, it's like a partial mirror effect. Where, if she feels down, I feel down because I know she's sad. I don't want her to feel sad. It makes me sad. But I don't, like if she's way down in the dumps, I don't get way down in the dumps, but I do get sad because of it. And I try and lift her back up out of the dumps. That's how that's how I like to put it. In terms of happiness, yeah, if she's happy, I'm happy. That's a given. If she's irritable, sometimes I can be irritable too. Other times it's a matter of I try and, keep everybody mediated, because sometimes something just sets somebody off and you just gotta really be in the middle and be like, whoa, hang on, that maybe it wasn't the way it was meant or whatever. But either way, we do kind of mirror each other's moods, but not 100%. It's more like 25-50%, somewhere around there. Next question. Do you watch each other for sensory overload in public and make moves to protect each other from it? That one, there was one example I can think of actually. In church, there was this sermon where our pastor had two balloons. One was filled with water, one was not. and he put a lighter underneath both of them. And the one with air was supposed to pop. It didn't, but it was supposed to. And the one with water was supposed to just stay there. The water would absorb the heat and all that. But anyway, she covered her ears for both of them, and I noticed, okay, like, you're in a church service, so it wasn't really appropriate to just get up and leave. But if we were anywhere else, I would have just, said, okay, maybe we should probably head elsewhere so we don't, get around that loud noise. Because her sensitivity is hearing. And so if there's any loud noise at all, I try and lead her away from that one, just so it isn't an issue really. And it's not going to affect her, it's not going to make her melt down or anything. So in that regard, yes, we do watch other times we're in public, and we try to protect ourselves from it. Next question. How do you handle meltdowns? Do you find yourself on the verge of a meltdown in response to other meltdown, like an empathetic response to it?
Well, there was a couple times that we did have meltdowns. I remember when you melted down when there was a family dispute,
Mm-hmm.
and then after a while, after you melted down, I started to melt down too, because all that emotion was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I do remember quite well. That one I think that's so far the only meltdown I've had in her presence. I've had others, but they haven't been around her. And so that one, actually, it does seem like there was an empathetic response that way. I don't think she's had too many meltdowns, though, in my presence. And I try and stay strong throughout all those and just, comfort her and be there for her and make sure that she's not too out of whack. It was one of those things where it was just, my meltdown was such a catastrophic meltdown that it was like, I just couldn't control it or anything. And not that hers aren't like that, but the whole situation was catastrophic. So it's a long story actually, I'd rather not get into it at this point, but there does seem to be an empathetic response to the meltdowns. So if she starts melting down, sometimes I will stick up for her and I'll defend her, and I may go off on somebody for it. So there have been a few times actually, even on parents, where they'll say something and just they keep aggravating the situation and they don't really help it, and then she starts having a meltdown and she has to go, just need some alone space, and I'm right up in their face about it. I'm like, look, you can't be doing this kind of stuff and just almost going off on them. Not that politely, obviously, but not in a way that would be abusive or anything like that. It's just just sticking up for her, really. So there is an empathetic response both ways, I believe. Next question. Are you similar or opposite in your personalities? Like, is one extroverted, the other introverted? Yes. I'm extroverted, she's introverted. For a while, I was a huge introvert. And a lot of that was just trained into me back in my childhood days. But, as I started dating her more, I realized I just got to come out of my shell. I kind of trained myself to come out of my shell and eventually became the expert that I am. So a lot of this is, it may seem like I'm the most talking here, but a lot of it is because I'm an extrovert and she's an introvert, and it's just the inherent nature of it. But what do you think, sweetie?
Yes, that is true. I am kind of more introvert because there are times that I don't know what I should say and what not to say, because a lot of the words, I don't know what I should say, because sometimes it's hard to come up with these words.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think it was one of my medication combinations would do that to me. I don't remember what it was, but it would, like, I had to plan out each sentence as I'm saying it, and so as somebody would talk to me, I had to kind of plan out a response before they actually got finished talking. It was a bear to work with that, and finally I was able to give it a lot of effort, honestly. And I really wish I could get that to you, honestly. But next one. Does it ever hurt when you need attention from a significant other when that significant other is frequently absorbed in special interest?
Well, we haven't come across that yet because we weren't too absorbed in our interests to not even notice that.
Yeah, pretty much. It seems like even if the one person is absorbed in a task, not just a special interest, but any task whatsoever, and the other one needs attention, if they go without, like, maybe this word is better. As an example, if she's like needs attention from me, she doesn't just sit in the corner and bottle it all up and for days. She may say even was one thing. She may say Mike or something like that, and then I'll look over her and I'll notice right away. Oh crap, she needs help, and I'll go over there and I'll comfort her and if she needs attention, I'll give it to her. And it's the same way in reverse, where if I need something from her, I'll let her know. And so the communication part, even if it's minimal, it's still enough that we realize that the other needs attention. And so then we do address it from there. So we haven't really had a situation yet where we're too absorbed to actually pay attention to the other person. It's one of those things where I know a stereotype of guys like, oh, look, the game's on, don't bother me now. But even there was some football games, even I'll just turn off because she needs my attention. I'll just be like, okay, she needs me more than I need the game, so I'm just going to pay attention to her rather than being absorbed in this game, being selfish like that. I mean, a relationship is a lot of give and take. There's a lot of, it's not just all about you, it's about the two of you. And so if you don't take care of the other half, your half deteriorates too. So it is give and take, but in those situations where you want to do something but she needs attention, I will give it up and I'll whatever I'm doing and I'll give attention to her. And I know she has done the same thing to me in the past and still does do the same thing to me. So it is a two-way street in that regard. But we don't really have the situation arise where we're too absorbed to do anything about it. So, all right. So that was the last question we have on our list. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to either shoot an email, leave a comment, or get in touch with us some other way and let us know. And if you recognize us in person, you can ask us in person too. We'll be more than happy to answer questions. But any question at all. It doesn't just have to be about autism or Asperger Syndrome. It could be anything, really.
Anything.
Anything. So it could be about religion, controversial issues. It could be about, relationship advice. It could be bedroom talk. It could be really anything. And we will, we'll review it obviously, but we will most definitely would love to have any longer questions, as many as we can have. So if you have anything, even if it sounds like a dumb question, it's not. And we'll look at each and every single one and answer it as we can. So, alright, so this is the first episode of Ask an Aspie Couple. Over now.